Surprising one. Let's start with the Miami Dolphins, 34, Falcons, 10.
Speaking of getting skunked.
Dolphins moved to 2-6 with this one. Falcons fall to 3-4. Best game the Dolphins have played all season.
By a mile.
By a mile. And for the Falcons, I think they remain, what'd you call them, very confusing. Now, we didn't know on Thursday when we did the preview show, Michael Penix, I believe I directly quoted saying, hey, he's got a bone bruise in the knee.
You did say that.
He's going to play through it.
I did think that a bone bruise is one of the toughest things to play through. I didn't connect that to, well, maybe you won't play then.
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't making that up. I mean, that was
I know.
As of Thursday, those were the reports.
Right. But when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's a tough thing to play through. Presumably he'll be limited in terms of, I mean, you were focusing on it in terms of how much that might affect him just in the pocket, generally functioning, pushing off a knee that's dealing with that. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing to play through. Neither one of us was like, well, maybe he won't actually play then based on that.
Yeah. And then Drake London also didn't play for the Falcons.
Yes.
And then if you gave me that information on Thursday, I'll be honest. Even that information on Thursday, hey, Kirk Cousins is going to play, no Drake London, I'd say, all right, well, Bijan's going to get 20 carries.
Yeah.
Algiers going to get 10 carries. They're going to run for 200 yards against this Miami run defense. But I want to talk about the Miami run defense and how they did it.
I will say.
But they held Bijan to 25 yards on 9 carries. And Algiers, four carries for 4 yards, including just a late touchdown. Miami's run defense was by far the best they've been all season.
Yeah. I will say that information was enough to make me flip my pick in the Sleeper app. I did decide, and I hate doing that.
Like a touchdown spread. Yeah.
I hate changing the thing because it's usually you second guess yourself, you do something stupid, and it ends up being the pick you thought in the first place. So I don't like doing that generally. But I was like, you know what? Kirk Cousins throwing to people that aren't Drake London, I can't do it. For a touchdown, there's no way they're covering that line. So I did think there was enough to make the game closer than a touchdown. I did not think that there was any way, shape, or form that Atlanta was going to get beat down by, 2-3 scores off the back of that. Because, as you said, they should still have been able to just feed the ball to Bijan, Algier, run all over this Miami defense that hasn't been able to stop anybody this season. And then the other side of the ball, you're like, Atlanta's defense should still murder the Miami offense because everybody else has.
Yeah. I mean, from Miami's perspective, it was the best their offense has looked. Obviously, no Tyreek Hill for the season. Darren Waller has been out, so you lose both of those guys. But it didn't matter. It was kind of a throwback when, early Mike McDaniel Miami days where they have this beautifully designed touchdown to HN in the flat.
And the touchdown to Waddle was like if you had to pull up a play that was what does the Mike McDaniel to a Miami offense look like? This play. Deep dig, perfect timing, outruns the defense, touchdown. Whether it's Jalen Waddle or whether it's Tyreek Hill, that's the play. And they haven't had that for a while.
Atlanta had one of the better pass rushes in the league, blitz schemes. And look, I've been raving about Divine Diablo this entire season as a linebacker addition to that defense. He's injured now. I don't think Divine Diablo's that good that all of a sudden the Falcons go from one of the best to one of the worst defenses. Clearly they're missing him, though. But they looked slow in the secondary. They just looked, I don't know, Miami was very good offensively for the first time in a while. I know it's a dome game for Tua coming off the windy game in Cleveland, and those things matter a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was the first time in a while that they looked like, hey, speed to the edge, Waddle running through the defense on the 43-yarder, little angle screen to Ollie Gordon when it was already garbage time. Like they had the dialed up plays, they had the speed plays, and Tua had a scramble drill touchdown. We haven't seen much of that. That was the best Tua's looked in quite a while as well.
It was. Atlanta is fast becoming, I think, the most confusing team in the NFL. I mean, whatever about, Bijan Robinson averaging 2.8 yards per attempt, he also just randomly lost the ball. Like, he's just running around, and then, ball pops out.
That was, if I could just break down really quick what Miami did to stop the run. I think it's one of the hardest things we have to do. I mean, feel bad for us. As NFL analysts, right?
You don't know how hard it is.
You don't know how difficult it is. When you go and you predict, hey, this team has a good run game, this team has a bad run defense, we're going to see a strong run game. It's really tough to figure out when the team with the bad run defense is either just going to stack the box and take it away in one given week, or if you really break down run defense or if you break down Miami, in a given week, it's like 3-4 plays that are just awful. Defensive tackles are, at the second level getting smoked. The linebackers and the safeties are awful tackling in space. That was the Titans against the Colts yesterday. But Miami didn't have any of that in this game. Their defensive tackles didn't get moved. Zach Sealer knifed into the backfield to stop Tyler Algier on a 3rd and 1 early on.
But that's
the linebackers were playing downhill. Jordan Brooks, Tyrell Dodson made some great plays, just working downhill, playing physically. Yeah. The edges played well. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb setting the edge. They hadn't been doing any of this.
And
they decided they're going to do it in this game against Atlanta. And I'll just say, all year we've said, look, I don't think Miami's great in the middle physically, but they're still better than they've shown. And this week, they finally showed, hey, we're better than we've been these first 7 weeks of the season.
That's the thing. So much about, it's different to the pass defense where you can't just really just add extra bodies to a pass defense and shore it up. You can do that with the run game. Like if you have the worst run defense in the NFL, at some point you can just decide, you know what, we're taking a guy out of the secondary, we're stacking the box, we are literally going to add extra humans to the run game to ensure that it's better in this game. And most of the time that works because a lot of the run game is simple math and how many bodies at the line of scrimmage. If you block one guy, you're good. So you can kind of randomly decide just to consciously make it better in a way that you can't really do with the pass game. But what you can't do is predict. So number one, you can't really predict when a team is going to do that. What you definitely can't predict is when the 4 or 5 underachieving talented players on the defensive line are going to collectively decide to play well.
Right.
Zach Sealer has been one of the better underrated defensive linemen in the NFL for the last several years and has not been playing well at all this year. How are you expected to predict the day where he just decides, I'm going to show up today. Today's when I'm going to show up and make plays.
And so then after all that, they had stopped Algier in the backfield a couple times. The Falcons' run blocking, which had been a beautiful scene of outside zone and, giving Bijan a little bit of room, and then he turns it into something. As soon as they give him some room, 6-7 yard carry, he fumbles. Yeah. In a 17-3 game. So again, credit the Dolphins for cracking down and making these plays. And for Atlanta, no rhythm. My take on Kirk Cousins as the backup, also predicting backup quarterback play.
Yeah.
Very difficult. But, on paper, Kirk Cousins should be one of the best backups. In practice, not to overrate one game here, in practice, Kirk Cousins feels like the kind of person, for me, who needs all the practice reps, needs all the time, needs the rhythm, needs the timing with his receivers. Like Jacoby Brissett has stepped in right away, and he's done this across multiple seasons now. Jacoby Brissett can step in and just kind of feels ready. He just feels like when he steps in, he's Jacoby Brissett. You know what you're going to get from Jacoby Brissett week in, week out. He put together some good games, some not so good games, but he steps in, he's Jacoby Brissett. I don't know if Kirk Cousins is the type of guy that could just take backup reps all season, get 1 week of practice, and be ready to go. Because he just feels like this career overachiever who needs all the practice time, all the reps. The number of times that he was not on the same page as receivers or missed an open throw, it just wasn't there for Cousins. So I don't know if he's the best actual backup, despite, statistically and performance-wise, historically, on paper, he's the best backup in the NFL. Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action.
I am starting to think that backup quarterback play is almost entirely random at this point. Because as much as you're like, you know what you're going to get from Jacoby. You've also seen games where Jacoby Brissett goes out there and it's like, this offense can't move the ball. He gets, 117 yards and we don't function at all.
That's what I mean by you know what you're going to get.
Right. You know what you're going to get.
It's either I don't know. It's not the best way of characterizing it.
I honestly just think, though, that it's almost like you get a guy that you think at least has the ability to, run the offense, be a functional quarterback, and then you just hope that this day we need him is one of the good games, and not one of the bad ones, and it could be anything. The knives are being sharpened for Zach Robinson because they had another game where things didn't look great. What do you make of that as a dynamic?
There is I'm always, because he's, someone we can talk to, I'm always fascinated by the first-time offensive coordinator who comes from, that was first time in his career, second year, who comes from McVay and then saying, okay, what is your offense? What are you going to run? And I'll say I'm a little surprised that they've run as much pistol as they've run, because like a lot of the former ex-QB ball knowers, the Kurt Warners of the world, the Dan Orlovskis of the world, some other former quarterbacks who are okay ball knowers, they might not love the offense, the pistol. Like there's been some criticism.
Well,
why are they running the pistol? Why are they 8 yards deep on at running back? Why are they doing this or that? Why don't they run gap scheme at all? Why are the pass concepts not as creative? I will say there's some staleness to it. There's some staleness to it. I'm not saying like yesterday's game. Again, you got Cousins. I don't know how quickly they knew he was going to start. You have no Drake London. You're a little hamstrung there.
Yeah, I mean we're back. Yeah, remember what we said coming into this year is it's going to be an interesting season with this offense because for the first time Zach can run what he wants to run, not what he has to run because Kirk Cousins is his quarterback and Kirk Cousins is a guy in his mid-30s who just came off an Achilles tear. Now, he's another year removed from that Achilles tear, but we're still dealing with somebody that probably can't run everything that he wants to run. It's interesting, though, because it's an unusual offense. It's not, a cookie-cutter offense. It's not one that everyone runs. It's a few specific things that Zach clearly thinks are, this is how I want to do it. This is the way I think is the best way of running an offense. And anytime that stuff doesn't work, immediately all the people that this is how it should, like Kurt Warner is really fascinating and he knows this. This is what I think makes him really intriguing. He is aware of his own internal biases towards certain styles of offense. As a guy that was a former, relatively conventional pocket passing quarterback, that's the way I believe the game should be played. And so he has an immediate hackles are raised on his neck whenever there's like quarterbacks on the move, whenever we're tapping into the design run game, all this kind of stuff. Like he wants to see drop back vertical passing game. And he knows that. Like he said it on a show. That's what he looks for when he's in the draft. Dano has his own biases as well. Like this is how I think the game should run. This is how I want to see the game run. So anytime you have an offense that doesn't look like that, they're immediately looking for reasons to crap on it.
They also both generally come from the point of view, which is really interesting because you and I generally come from the point of view. You and I come from the point of view of player evaluation first.
Right.
They're basically scheme evaluation.
Sure.
They usually work from the premise of the quarterback is right, the scheme is wrong. Right? There's no such thing as a bad quarterback. There's only bad coaching and bad schemes. So most of their analysis comes from this coach is doing a good job putting the quarterback in position to succeed. This quarterback's in a bad position to succeed. And they generally go with, there's no failed quarterback play. There's only failed coaching. And we always come from the idea of this player played well, played poorly, he's doing this or that. And obviously there's a blend of both of those things. It's just an interesting perspective from those guys. The other thing that you get, and the point I was trying to make on the offense, they're at extreme levels. I just kicked the.
You only killed the monitor, not the feed, right? Like we're still live.
Yeah. If we had a button that killed the show right next to me,
it shouldn't be anywhere near you. Yeah.
That would be really, really bad planning, bad choices.
Yeah.
I just kicked a plug that knocked our monitor out.
Correct.
And made it look like we were off air for a second, but I'm pretty sure we're still here. The point. The Falcons' offense is working in extremes. Extreme level of outside or wide zone. Still no gap scheme, right? They're not mixing it up from a run game perspective. But every week we're over here raving about how good Bijan is, so It doesn't really matter. The other part that I would say, they're low play action despite being so run heavy. Like, why is that? Why don't we have a couple more fakes to the belly of Bijan to open things up? The other part that I'll say about this offense, Bijan's so good this year. The number of times that he's created explosives in the pass game, either on a check down or a throwback screen, they may be too dependent on just Bijan Robbins and, believe it or not, explosives, the things he couldn't create before this season. But pass game explosives, if you take those out, is this a good offense this year? I don't know. But I've still viewed them as kind of a dudes type of offense, right? Get the ball to Drake London, which they've had elements of feeding him like crazy, where it's worked well. Feed Drake London. Well, he wasn't in the game. Darnell Mooney's been in and out of the lineup throughout this season. He was a great part of this offense last year. He's been in and out this year. Kyle Pitts has looked good, and I think there's elements of just a feel to the game and he's just a dude that you could throw to, and Bijan's a dude coming out of the backfield. That's what it should be. Get the ball to those guys in as many ways as possible, and I think there's spurts where this offense does that, and then there's spurts where they don't whatsoever. And now you've got a shutout loss against Carolina, and you have this game against Miami, two defenses that you should have the advantage against, and Atlanta looked bad. And so that's worrisome, and now they go play New England next week as a 3-4 team. This is a massive loss for the Falcons.
Oh, it's huge. But I don't know that you just say, this is an offense that isn't as conventional as others, and this was a bad game, therefore the coach is terrible. Number one, I think there were some plays to be made in this game that, were schemed up and were there to be had, and Cousins didn't make them. Like there was a 3rd and 3 early in the game where the play design is fine. It's a normal concept on one side. The underneath guy's open. It's a clean pocket, and Cousins bails from it and walks right into pressure, I think, from Jalen Phillips. That's to throw the ball away. Like that's one where if you're like, did the coach put the quarterback in a position to succeed? Yes. Did the quarterback decide not to succeed anyway? Also yes. So it's a weird offense where I think because it's unusual, because it's unconventional, the second it doesn't work, people are looking to crap over it. It's like the Mike McDaniel thing, right? You're a bit of a weird character, and that's fine when you're winning. And as soon as you stop winning, people are like, "What's wrong with this guy? Why is he kind of weird?" I think that's the way people treat this offense with Zach. It's because it's unusual. When it's all working, that's fine. But the second it stops working, and what the hell's wrong with this offense? Why doesn't he just run, gap scheme under center?
And ultimately, when we call Atlanta a weird team, and you could go back and chalk it up to say, well, maybe they're just not as good on the road, and now you lose at home in the Dome. Look, I know you've got backup QB, missing wide receiver 1. Those are factors, but against the defense that was awful against the run, and you couldn't get your strength going as a run-first team. And if you can't run the ball, if you're Atlanta, if you can't run the ball, and you don't have your top receiver, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
And so I think, Miami took advantage of that. They deserve credit. They played better than they had played all season. It's funny because when we analyze these games, we'd spend weeks talking about the Dolphins when they lose. We do spend more time sometimes talking about the losing team because you're trying to figure out what went wrong for them. But sometimes it is just, hey, the Dolphins played great. They played downhill. They played physically for the first time in a while. Tua played the best game he played all season. And Atlanta did look they were not creating the same kind of pressure and indecision in offenses. And Tua's quick release was, kept them off balance.
With him out there looking like Rocky, did you hear about his eye thing?
No.
He was added to going into this game, like the first thing they tell you in this game about the broadcast is that Tua was added to the injury report, minutes before the game with an eye injury.
Oh,
right?
I thought it was illness.
It was. So apparently he woke up basically with a swollen eye. He got sick or something, woke up, and his left eye looks like Rocky. So you're like, what? When you hear that coming into a game, I'm like, nothing is more Miami than this. Tua randomly just gets sick in the night, wakes up with a swollen eye, like he can barely see. And you're like, this is the most Miami thing ever. They're going to get shellacked by 30 points, and this is just the way this season's going for them. Instead, apparently that was all he needed to kick into gear and get going in the right direction. But there's a picture of him somewhere. I think Ari Maroff, our colleague, has it, where it's from the sky cam or whatever. You've seen through this giant.
You don't think he got punched in Atlanta?
I don't think that's what was causing it. But
okay.
That was typically Miami this season. Anything that can go wrong did go wrong. And then actually the game started and things were all good.
So just to put a bow on this one, Miami's got to come back for Thursday Night Football against Baltimore.
Yep.
Where Lamar Jackson's presumably coming back. Now looks like could be a more competitive game if Miami plays like this. But we'll see if they can put 2 weeks together. For Atlanta, how big is this? Losing against San Francisco and then Miami, falling to 3-4. They now go to New England. Then they've got the Germany game against the Colts, and then they've got Panthers, Saints, Jets. But 2 tough games coming up against the AFC here. They're in danger of falling to 3-6.
Yeah.
Before they run into some, worst record type teams.
It was already a kind of big missed opportunity or a damaging game because of Tampa Bay. But yeah, given their schedule, it's potentially a real issue.
All right, I got no more use for this game.
Done. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
And the all-knowing algorithm is convinced you'll also like these videos, and who are we to argue?